Okay. And we are live, and we don't know how exactly we got both Beth Tabler and Mahir, the fantasy book critic, both on our show at one time, but here we are. They didn't know any better.
I promised I'd never send him one of my books. That's how we did it.
So welcome to the show, both of you. And Mahir, I did give you fair warning, the first question out of the gate. So I'm sure you have a very intelligent, prepared answer here.
I have an answer. Intelligence is not on the cards. Let me just warn you that.
Everything's relative. You'll do fine. So where do you see fantasy going, and where do you want to see it going? Is Grimdark, has it had its time and it's gone? Is Cozy had its time? What do you see? What
I
trend do
think
you see?
that's a good question. So thank you firstly both to you and Ro for inviting me and for having me on with the lovely Beth as well. And hello to El Montag. I think Cozy, to answer your question, I think Cozy is kind of reached its top and it's now slowly, I don't want to say decline because it sounds bad, but it's kind of like, it's getting over the hill, so as to speak. Grimdark definitely won't be coming back. It had its heyday back in the 2010s. I feel just because the way the world is. I feel like the world was in a better place, which is why people could enjoy the darker side of fiction. Nowadays, I think with the world being where it is, not just here but almost everywhere, any part of the world, I don't know if people really want to get into the nitty gritty of Grimdark that much. Yes, there are weirdos like me. There are weirdos on like the Grimdark fiction readers who just seek out the ultra hard stuff. But the normal reading public, I don't know if they really want the Grimdark stuff. There might be a few books here and there, but I don't think it's coming back.
Hold right there. Oh,
nope.
Don't lose your train of thought. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
I just thought this would be a really good place for the editor of Grimdark magazine to jump in there, because she looked like she was going to reach through this little border of this screen and start throttling you.
I'm sorry. Pardon the fuck out of me.
What you got to say, Beth? I think maybe you have something in your head you wanna share.
Oh, out of his damn mind. No, I think that there is a time and a readership for Cozy. There's a time and a readership really big because our lives sucked during COVID, generally speaking. But I think it's necessary. It's like a discovered thing that's going to be around. The thing about Grimdark, and I'm not talking about like Warhammer kind of just mayhem and nihilism. Grimdark is gray characters doing good for the wrong reason or wrong for their good reason. They're not on a set path. They don't have to have a hero's journey. It's just people being people. And I think that there will always be a place for that now in fantasy, of individuals just being individuals in situations. As there will be a place for, the hero's journey and stuff, the classic kind of fantasy tropes, but I don't see it going away. And I don't mean to be in politics or anything, and as an American, but there's a lot of people who don't have a lot of hope right now, who are unhappy with certain things going on in the US, and maybe they'll gravitate more towards Cozy Family, and that could be a big boost for the genre. So, I don't see it going away.
No, I don't think it'll go away, but when I first started writing, it seemed like everybody's like, here's my Grimdark title, here's my Grimdark.
Everybody calls everything Grimdark.
And then, like you said, Cozy kind of took over once COVID hit, and it really kind of sucked, and you needed something nice. And so that's why I'm like, okay, COVID's over. So, Mahir, you did not get to tell us, where are we going next?
Not at all. Where I'm hoping we will go next is, so here's what I think will happen. I think there will be epic fantasy will make a comeback, but it won't be like pure classical epic fantasy. I think it'll be epic fantasy mixed with something else. Something like epic fantasy mixed with, say, heroic, or epic fantasy mixed with lit RPG, epic fantasy mixed with portal fantasy. I see that, that kind of a trend because, and I'm thinking why? Because romantasy kind of jumped up, after Cozy. And so that's what I'm thinking will happen next. I could be totally wrong. Publishers definitely will know more than me. And here's what I'm hoping will make a comeback. I want more epic fantasy, like the epic fantasy of the 90s, the epic fantasy of the 80s. I'm a fan of David Gemmell. For people who don't know, he wrote some of the best heroic or sword, and not even sword fantasy, just heroic epic fantasy. And I want more of that. So that is what I'm hoping for. People like Anthony Ryan, he writes some amazing books. People like Michael J. Sullivan, he writes a little bit more, less heroic, more comedic, but something like that. That is what I wish for more. And to clarify my point, I didn't say Grimdark was totally going to go away. I said that Grimdark is not going to have its heyday as it had back in the 2010s.
Backpedal.
I'm not. I said I'm one of the ones who love Grimdark. I counted myself among the crazy ones. But no, that's honestly, I don't feel like we'll have Grimdark, like, Mike, you mentioned, like, everybody's coming out with a Grimdark title. Maybe we'll have dark fantasy, because there's a difference between Grimdark and dark fantasy. Yeah. I'm definitely sure that we'll have dark fantasy titles. We just won't have, oh, hey, Tori. We just won't have like Grimdark, like what it was back in the late 2000s and the early 2010s.
Yeah, it's changing and growing as a genre. It's really morphing into. No, it is not. Thank you very much.
Nobody's saying that. Exactly. I'm saying it doesn't have its heyday. It won't have its heyday like it had back in the day.
It's really kind of morphing into dark fantasy. Like, there's the line between dark fantasy and grimdark is really starting to blend a bit.
Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of
I always think of grim.
Anything is past its whatever now, because there are so many people writing in all these different genres, right? And you're not kind of held to the thing of traditional publishers who get to say, yeah, this is cool now, and this other thing isn't cool anymore. If Grimdark is written well, it will always be cool to a certain segment of people who like that genre. That the nice thing now is you don't have to wait for the wanks in New York City to tell you when you can appreciate something or not.
Okay,
I think that
backpedaling.
I think that. Why did you say you hate me, Mihir? I mean,
what? Sorry.
Why did you say you hate me?
I didn't say I hate you. I know. You guys are going to make me really famous on the internet after this, aren't you?
Balding, so don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, fame is not one of those things that we deal in here.
I already see Tori mentioning something about cue all the YouTube videos. So I'm already seeing some chatter over there, and she's quite famous. There you go.
Oh my! This is awesome when we get somebody else who can run our show for us, Ro, and we can just sit back and laugh.
Yeah, I'm just going to hit mute and just wait. Go get some popcorn.
Ooh.
I was going to say that I think the times are changing also about genres, because indie fantasy, indie SFF in general, is changing the landscape of how people get their books, how people do things. If you want grimdark, well, there's grimdark authors out there that are prolific, that are writing incredible stuff, actively. We don't have to wait for trends. We don't have to wait for, the people at Penguin to sign off on somebody. They can get out there and pick up a huge following. It's wonderful. It's changing the whole landscape.
Yep.
I think
we're kind of in an
epic
golden
fantasy,
age.
I think you're seeing a little shrinkage, right? While there are still people writing the huge chonker books, I think more people are opting for something a little bit more palatable, because a lot of the readers want something a little bit lighter to carry, right? Not lighter in tone necessarily, but they want to be able to get in and get out of the book. And I think part of that's because there's so much, right? That if you're a reader who is like a voracious reader, you don't want to spend a month on one book. No matter how good it is, you want to be able to read all the other stuff. Well,
also, the publishers took away the mass market paperbacks, right? Because previously, back I remember when I was at least 20 years younger, there was those mass market paperbacks. Those were cheaper. Those were easier to carry. Nowadays, you barely see them. I only see them in the thriller and mystery market. I don't see them in the fantasy market. You only have those trade paperbacks, and those can be chunky too.
Yeah.
Evening, Bo.
Oh, hey,
Hey,
Bo.
Bo.
I was just talking with Bo a while earlier.
So I have a question for both of you, because just this month I started my Substack and I said, you know what, I'm reading people's books. I should probably do a review. And that is the hardest thing in the world. I started like, I read it. It's good. The end.
Yay! Go read it.
When you started reviews, was it easy for you to write, 4 paragraphs, or did you just, is it just
No.
a skill to learn?
It's never easy. It's especially hard when you've got this book that you're supposed to be reviewing and you have absolutely nothing to say about it. Like, it's not bad. It's just you don't have anything to say about it. Oh, it was great.
The Honda Civic of Bo.
Well, for me, it was a little bit easier when I didn't have kids because I had lots more energy. I had lots more mental energy, so I could, write way late in the night and publish the reviews like at 11:45 p.m. or something like that. Nowadays, I'm finding it similar to Beth. Just with life and work and kiddos, it gets harder and harder. I try to still write lengthy reviews. I'm not yet as successful as possible about those, but it's harder. But she also does like a lot more than reviewing. She does editing as well. So I think that takes away a lot more of her mental space, than just reviewing.
And interviewing. I haven't actually
interviewing too.
written very many reviews this last year.
Yeah, but you have to formulate the questions, right, for the interviews, because you got to do research and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit broader.
How do you all handle it? Like, if you're doing reviews, how many reviews are you posting or putting out there? I mean, are you writing them? Are you doing videos of them? What's your...
How many reviews and stuff does FBC put out a week?
Anywhere from 2 to 4 to 5, even on good days or good weeks. Sometimes we have like content for the whole week. I'm trying to do at least 1 to 2. I've slowed down majorly, so I'm trying to still do 1 to 2 reviews per month. I'm not successful. This is way down from when I was doing 1 review at least a week back in like 90 plus years ago. I'm not as pretty for YouTube, so which is why I don't like to talk, because I'm all over the place. So that's why it takes me a while to write down everything and then hopefully smoothen it up and then post it on the blog. But yeah, that's how my process goes.
Before
Somebody
we go,
is killing the recorder behind you.
Oh, 6th grade. I remember thee. Before we go, does anywhere from 14 to 21 a week.
Oh, wow.
21 posts. And that
How many-
reviews.
How many people's doing that?
We have a team of 25, 20.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's not one person. It's, it's a collective team. Review all sorts of stuff. We review games, we review movies, anything in the sphere. Free bird.
And I should also add,
Reminder.
I'm a part of Fantasy Project, so there's of course other people. There's Lucas, there's Caitlin, there's Shazzy, there's I always end up forgetting my team members, which is why I'm such a horrible person. There's at least 6 to 7 people, which is why we and there's no stress on anybody to like post stuff every time. If they write and read and write something, they're great. If it doesn't, it's okay.
We also have SBFBO and SFINCS, is that right? Science fiction, the science fiction one. And then we did the Nevada one. And so we've got that as well going. So those are reviews and stuff.
So you science fiction?
We are doing right now. We're doing the science fiction one, the fantasy one.
The Sphinx one is the short story one, right? The Sphinx one is the short story one. Spacebo is the Hugh Harvey.
Yeah.
one.
We've got Spacebo and SBFB going right now.
What group is yours in Spacebo? Because I didn't see before you go blog. So what is the name of your team?
Before we go,
Oh, is it? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I think we're doing. I'm not heading up the Space Boat team, so
Is it Crystal?
The results may vary. No, Crystal's heading up SPFBO.
Oh, okay.
She took this year and last year, saved my ass because I had too much going on.
The lovely Crystal Matar, indie author, and
yeah,
Is
like
Beth's group not the group that you're in, Mike?
I'm in Red Stars. And they are just toying with us all, and they're not eliminating people and just making me get more and more nervous because the blood man is coming.
How much feedback do you get from authors on that type of thing when you're judging contests like that?
So before we go, I have a standing rule that there's something good in every book, and you may hate this book, but somewhere out there it might be somebody's favorite book. So we try to highlight all of the good things. Yep. And we don't write trash posts on my site. We highlight the good things. We mention some of the things that could be done better. And we generally don't get, shit talked or anything about it. We try to keep things positive. It's hard enough being an author, but then it's doubly hard to take your darling and put it into a contest to be shredded. So we really try to keep things positive because there's always something good to call out in just about every book.
Especially a contest where there's like a 97% failure rate, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
As Mark Lawrence puts it, only 10 out of 100, 300 get selected. So similar to Beth, we try not to be mean. We of course, though, warn authors that we are going to be a little bit quicker because we have Lucas in our group in FPAC who is very, very detail oriented and he likes to post schedules. So we are probably one of the first people who will be like, okay, here's our first set of cuts coming on this day, and then second set of cuts coming this day. It, of course, is a little bit brutal because sometimes the authors are just, when the contest starts, everybody's happy and everybody's joyous, and then, you get the first set of people who get cut. It's a little bit tricky, but again, similar to what Beth said, we try not to be mean. We try to just say that, okay, these books did not work for us. Here's why it didn't work for the individual reviewer, but they might work for you. You would give them a try because, again, not every book is going to be universally liked and not every book is going to be universally hated. And thankfully, so since the last 10 years or so, since this is taking part in SPFPO, we haven't had any authors being rude or mean to us. They, of course, sometimes ask us like, hey, can you update the link or, can you update the cover or something like that? But that's
different.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a book that tested your very nice and welcoming kind of way of doing that? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. But I'm not going to tell you which one.
Don't tell us which one. You don't tell us what it's about. Certainly don't name the author, whatever. But was it just really obvious from like all of the folks who read it that this book will be not with us anymore?
The book badly needed editing. It didn't have any periods. So
maybe they were like going E.E. Cummings on you.
Yeah, stream of consciousness. Yeah, it didn't have any punctuation really, and so it was very difficult to parse. So yes, we knew it needed significant more work to be, just entering this type of contest. But I gave it a try. I read 30% of it. I mean, I gave it the good old try.
You read 30% of a book with no punctuation?
Yeah, I did. I really tried to. Well, we give a full page review to every book that comes across because we want to give an author their moment in the sun, and I wanted to be able to say something. So I read 30% of it. Yeah, it's true.
My in high school English teacher would always tell people if you don't use punctuation, you're technically writing poetry.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was 80 pages of poetry.
See, I would have probably stopped after about a paragraph when I realized that there is no punctuation here, and then just probably cried myself to sleep. But yes.
You should
Good on
see
you.
some of the stories that I read. They get submitted for our open calls. It takes us quite a long time. Like this last open call for Grimdark I had 250 stories to read, which is a lot. And I had one, and it's not this year. It was the last open call. It was a mashup of Grimdark and Disney's Frozen with some sex on top, all in 5,000 words.
Wow.
I mean,
Sure.
in some world, this is
Grimdark Frozen. I bet that's
Grimdark
Frozen
with sex on top of that. Like
so the
prostitution and
romanticy,
stuff.
right? Nice. Romanticy is also sprinkled in nicely.
Yeah, I don't really think it was romantic.
So I was talking to an anthology editor, and he told me the number one thing, we did a book on zombies, and we put in big bold letters, no zombie porn. Who knew this was a thing?
Zombie porn is absolutely a thing.
He's like, do you know that like 40% of all the submissions was zombie porn? He goes, no, read the. I mean, it was in bold.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I had no idea.
Today I learned zombie porn existed.
Right.
Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Beth, you were pretty emphatic when you said, "Oh, yes, it exists."
I just know it exists because I've read all sorts of shit over the submittals. I just know it exists.
See, I think
I've read things are like, no.
Isn't that necrophilia, bordering necrophilia, maybe, or?
I think that's a gray area.
It's a gray area.
Doing what you do to me would make me almost hate reading. I think if I had to read that much stuff and so much of it was bad.
Well, this last submittal, a lot of it was good. It was a very difficult, ended up being quite difficult to pick we picked 6 stories out of 250.
Ooh.
Quite difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did want to say, because last year I was in Spiffbo for a blink of an eye. But anyway, it was all good. Oh, God.
Oh, my God. Timothy.
Anyway, but Spiffbo was wonderful. I'm going to not look at the comments now until I finish this out. Because it got me to talk to a bunch of other authors. It got me to finally with Roe that we should do a YouTube show. I mean, it got me to network, which is really why that's why it's a win. I tell people it's like I won at Spiffbo because I actually joined the community because of it. So
I hear that I've heard that constantly from authors.
And
they don't have any illusions about winning. It's very 3% chance, but you do meet a lot of reviewers. You do get your name out there. You meet a lot of other authors. You commiserate or cheer each other on. It's a cool thing to watch.
So how we're off topic a little bit here. Sorry. How
you have a topic?
Right, we never are.
Anything away from zombie porn. That is always a good.
Yeah, we're staying well away from that. Is it as difficult for you guys as reviewers to put your reviews out there as it sometimes is for a writer to put their work out there? Right, because it's that kind of thing. It's like, I like it or whatever, but do I really want people to see it? Blah blah blah. So especially when you first started, I guess, how was it saying, who the hell's going to care about my opinion on this? Was there any of that?
Yes. To a certain degree. I'll let Beth continue. I'm going to talk after her.
I just thought, well, if they don't like my opinion, don't have to read the article. But most of the time, I worry about like a typo or something where I just feel like, oh, everybody's going to think I'm an idiot. I can't differentiate between the twos. 2, 2, and 2. Everybody's going to think I'm an idiot. That's more of my problem.
That's an English language problem.
Yeah.
That's
So
That's my
I got a little lucky because I was, like I said, I was part of Fantasy Book Critics, so it was already there was like a pedigree to join. So my worry was just, are my reviews going to be up to the standard that has already been set? The answer was not so much, because in my earlier reviews it required a lot of editing, and that's just why I'm so thankful to my like colleagues and co-editors who are telling me, okay, this is what you don't do, this is what you do. So it took me at least a couple of years for my reviews to at least come up to par, what I think they should have been. Now that I read my previous reviews, I still cringe. But again, it's not the same as you folks as authors, because you put your heart and soul into writing a longer story, right? Ours is just a little bit easier. It's like, here's what we like, here's what we don't like, end of story. But you guys craft a story, you think, imagine it, you write it down, and then you put it out in the world. And then some idiot, because they might not get the book in time, gives a 1-star. That is way harder than what we ever could do.
yeah.
So, well, I will tell you, because when I was a new author, my main character, there's an awful lot of Mike in Grommy, and I've got 3 reviews now where people like, I liked the book except for the main character. I hated him, and I'm like, yeah, well, you're going to get that.
If they only knew you, huh?
Yeah, it gets worse, people. It gets worse.
See, there's that, right? Like, how do you like, what do you say to that? Because again, each character is kind of like a figment of your imagination, but also there's some part of you in there, the good and bad ones. And when people say like they don't like the story or they don't like the character, how do you deal with that? Is my question to you both.
Well, I'm Gen X, so I just sort of shrug my shoulders and don't care. We don't believe in feelings, so
You save a lot of money on therapy. That's a smart way to live.
We believe in them, but you what you do with them is you push them down inside and you don't talk about them. That's what they're there for. That's what the inside space is for, right? To hold all that shit.
It's infinite.
No, I mean, you obsess over it for a day or so, and then you kind of go, whatever. It's like they obviously didn't read past the first chapter, and they didn't like something, right? It might strike them. A bad review I got on one of my books was because a guy said, well, this is totally unrealistic to think that X, right? It's like, okay, dude, this is a world with magic in it, right?
In a fantasy world. Like, you should not be saying that about anything in a fantasy world.
Right. So you kind of just go, right, something didn't appeal to them in the first 30 pages, and they just decided, I'm pissed that I spent the money on this, and I'm going to leave a review and whatever. So
if we're going to,
thanks for the $15.
I got a review recently where the person said that she's bilingual, so she can understand if she doesn't understand every word and get the gist. But for those of you who are only monolingual, you'll have trouble reading this book. And I'm like, so people who only know English are going to have trouble reading the book written in English. Okay. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. Who's going to trust anything else in your review if you're going to put that?
Right. Oh, dear Lord.
Then the chapter titles gave away the entire story, so she didn't have to read the actual chapters, just the titles, and she knew everything that happened. And I'm like, okay, thank you for putting that, because now people know just how much to weigh your review.
This sounds like the people who, write, I skip prologues or I don't read prologues before just jumping into the book. It sounds exactly on par. The intellectualness of it sounds entirely on par with those sort of folks.
I don't get the people who don't like prologues. It's like, what the hell is the beginning of Star Wars if not a prologue, right? It's like, and not only that, you have to read the shit. Mm-hmm. You go to a movie and you spend the first 10 minutes reading, right? And nobody really complains about that except for me right now.
I haven't seen Star Wars, but I trust you. So I haven't seen Star Wars. I haven't. I know I'm a bad geek, but I haven't seen Star Wars. I haven't. I'm sorry. I know.
When you come up to Seattle, we are going to go see Star Wars.
Gladly. But yeah, I it's one of those unfortunate things. There's gaps in my geek culture and trivia or knowledge because I grew up in India where we didn't have a lot of movies coming over there. So yeah, I haven't seen Star Wars. I know sacrilege, but I'm bad. Yes, thank you. I've never seen Star Wars and the sequels, all of them, everything.
The sequels are fine.
Oh, I got one. I got one. I got it. I know.
Unacceptable. I know, Tim. I'm just disappointing you left, right, and center. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, man. That's a good thing.
I've never read.
You have to watch at least the first one, right? The original one. You have to watch that one at least.
Do you mean the trilogy, or do you mean just the first movie?
The first two.
The first
Right.
two.
Star Wars
Okay.
and
Of
Return
the
of the
original
Jedi.
of the original trilogy.
So that's parts 4 and 5, right? That's
Parts 4 and 5,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
The rest it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and don't worry about the first three with Jar Jar Binks. That was just that's a
I'm just
tragedy.
disappointing Tim so much. Tim, your mom was very lucky. Honestly, I did not, like, I'm not even kidding. I did not know of Star Wars until the prequels came out in 1999, because that's when the whole thing was, I found out there's something called Star Wars. And I didn't have any friends who wanted to go see it, so I never saw it. And
In a way, you're
You've
really
seen The
kind of
Matrix.
lucky because you get to see it for the first time,
Yeah.
that's true.
right?
Yeah. But I know everything that's happened into it.
50 years late, but you get to see it for the first time.
You've seen The Matrix, right?
Yes, I have seen The Matrix. Because people wanted to
Lord
see
of
The
the
Matrix. Lord of the Rings, I read the Lord of the Rings first. And then I saw the movies. But see, Lord of the Rings was available in a book format. Like, that's like, I found out that Lord of the Rings movies are coming, so that's when I found out there's a book. Then that's when I read the book, and then I saw the movies. But yeah, Star Wars. Okay, let me paraphrase this. When I was growing up in India, I was growing up with people who did not read books. So for them to see movies, it was only Bollywood movies. Sci-fi and fantasy was not their cup of tea. They didn't even know fantasy. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was talking about George R. R. Martin back in the early 2000s to my friends in India, and they were giving me blank stares. Like, they did not know who George R. R. Martin was. Absolutely did not know. The only people who were famous in India book-wise were, I don't know if you folks or anybody in the chat knows, Sidney Sheldon, who's really a prolific writer, or was a prolific writer, Robin Cook, because he's a medical thriller writer, James Patterson to a certain degree, and then Dan Brown after his breakout, Da Vinci Code. People were, it was like the next big thing. But
What do you mean because he's a medical writer?
Because, well, people liked medical thrillers. I think ER was big that time. So ER kind of was also big in India, or at least because of George Clooney, people watched ER a little bit. So that's why Robin Cook's books were at least visible in India. Let me put it that way. There was no George R. R. Martin. He was really late to come to India. Robert Jordan was there. Terry Goodkind was there. But yeah. Okay. I didn't see Star Wars. I'm sorry. I just haven't seen Star Wars. Okay. Thank you, Tim.
What we got here?
Oh, Ganesh, see, he knows. That's true. That's very true. That's very true. And they also sometimes, even if they release the English movie version, they will cut it so that, because they apparently think that there's the violence is too bad, or the sex scenes or kissing is too bad. So you often get a movie that is being cut. So there's the random scenes which are just like, the transition doesn't make any sense. You're like, wait a second, they're talking, and what just happened? Why are they in a different place altogether? Or what happened to that character? The character's never seen because they died in bed or something like that. So there's that too. Sorry, I'm going on a diatribe against Indian cinema.
Okay, well, here, let's do this.
I'll shut up.
Say I want you to say a couple of lines, and this will probably get us through to what Santosh's saying, and give everybody a really good idea. I want you to say, I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Yeah, it doesn't really have the same menace, does it?
Menace? Is this from Star Wars?
Yeah. It's Darth Vader. Right, so I guess if you did Darth Vader in a regional accent, it will lose a little something in translation.
It'll lose a lot. First of all, the name Darth Vader cannot be translated to what?
It's James Earl Jones doing, Darth Vader. You can't really really beat that.
Plus, they come up with ridiculous names as well for the characters. So
yeah, okay, that's fair.
Beth, when you get to read just for fun, not for grimdark or for before we go, but just, what, I just want to read something. What do you gravitate towards? Anything in particular?
Okay, well, I like Stephen King a lot. I like horror in general. I like urban fantasy quite a lot, which Mihir knows. We both love urban fantasy. I like weird, kind of strange books. Jason, do you guys know Jason Pargin?
Do not know.
John, he wrote a book called John Dies at the End.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Fabulous. Great writer, great series. I like Grady Hendrix. I like his work. I've been
Weird
reading
horror.
a lot of fan fiction, honestly, the last 6 months because, had a lot of trauma and death in the family and stuff, and I needed something as fluffy as humanly possible. And that would be fan fiction. So, it's like grimdark for my day job, and then fluffy fan fiction before I go to bed.
Is fan fiction just defined as someone writing someone else's IP?
Yes, basically. Well,
In someone else's famous world, so to speak.
yeah, like existing worlds, they don't get any sort of payment or anything for it. It's just they, take an idea and extend the world with different characters.
Or same characters, I think, right?
Or same characters, yeah.
Didn't you tell me that there was like a grimdark version of Harry Potter, Beth, where you had gotten a book? Yes, where it was about
it
Draco.
Has 8 million reads. It has
right, Draco and what's her name? Hermione, something like that.
Yeah, it's quite. Some of it is quite popular, and
Draco
it's popular
Hermione?
on TikTok. Hermione. Yeah, but it's in the future. They're adults.
Yeah.
That's the most ridiculous thing you've said tonight, Tim.
Hey, I think zombie porn takes the cake. Zombie porn and cozy. I think that takes the cake.
So, what would porn with Trents be? Or treants?
With what? Sorry?
Treants from the tree people from.
Well, it would take a long time, that's for sure. Don't want to do anything hasty now.
And it just lasts 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, they must be taking so much time to just even get into foreplay. So who knows?
Right, yeah.
Dendrophilia? Is that dendrophilia? Somebody has sex with trees.
I know that's an actual thing because people come to the hospitals with injuries and there's like a
They
billing
really
code
don't.
for that. They do. I'm not even kidding.
Don't.
They do. There's even a billing code for people who cut their hands while cutting avocados. And I'm not even kidding. People get so many hand injuries because they cut avocados in their hand and the knives go usually in or they poke it through and then they get stab wounds in their palms. And there's literally a billing code for that.
Yeah, I cut half my finger off cutting cheese like that.
No, wait a minute. So if there was a specific code for avocado stupidity, does that mean that if I go in and say I cut my hand doing something reasonable, it would cost me less than if I cut my hand opening an avocado?
No, that depends on the insurers. So that's totally up to them. But ideally, no. Because if you can eat avocado, that means you're rich, according to them. So
The fact that there's a billing code.
There is. I'm not even kidding to you, Beth. For
It
avocados.
doesn't happen enough.
And for injuries with, sex with weird things. I'm not even kidding. There is a billing code for that.
So what do you do at the hospital?
I am a doctor. At least I was trained to be a doctor, but I work in clinical research now, which is why I kind of know. And my entire family.
You brought it up. Remember this.
I know. And my entire family is in the physician world, so I get to hear and know these things.
What's the dumbest thing you've ever seen?
Oh, come on.
The real dumbest thing?
Oh yeah, I know where this is going already.
So this was way back in the day when I was an intern back in India. This guy had come to us because he could not get pregnant, he could not get his wife could not get pregnant because they were told that they needed to have sex and regularly have sex, but he was also told by other people that you should always wear a condom. And the thing is, because explaining stuff in India is so hard, they don't have the right, in Hindi, the language and regional languages, it's hard. So they often show how to wear the condom on the hand. And so this guy came and he was like, well, I wear it on my hand, but we're not able to have sex properly. And we had to keep a straight face and tell him that you're not supposed to wear it on the hand. And then we had to take straws to kind of take which among the male interns would go in and show him, how do you wear a condom?
I have a different question.
I'm so sorry for boring everybody with this.
That's fine.
Oh, dear Lord.
That's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. That had to
So
be a light bulb
I'm
or
just
something.
curious why they couldn't do it properly. How the condom encased hand
So
impeded
from what
his
I
ability to,
so
you know,
w-
there
what I
are
what,
billions of you over there. Surely
yes.
someone's figured it out.
No, because this was from like a really low socioeconomic kind of populace, and what was told was that only the condom goes in. So you can imagine what he was putting in was only the condom covered part.
Did
It
you
was
stick it on a stick?
no on his hand or on his finger, so to speak. But I'm telling you, it was. You get some real doozies. Then we have, yeah. Like I said, I thankfully I didn't have to explain to him. Another friend of mine had to go and explain it to him, and then also tell him that if you're wearing this, you can't get pregnant. But if you want to get your wife pregnant, you're not supposed to wear this. You just wear this if you don't want to get pregnant. So there's that levels
on
of
your hand. You
Well,
shouldn't worry about getting anybody pregnant because no one's going to have sex with you.
Well, they were teaching them how to wear them, so like they could show it on their fingers. Or I'm glad he didn't show him on like a cucumber or something, and then said, imagine the trouble if he had come with that story. So,
But again, the journalist in me forces me to ask this question: did anybody talk to his wife? I mean, maybe she was okay with it.
No. So the wife. So again, the wife was so okay. The wife, certain people in India, they are very shy, and this wife had, her head covered, like, so I don't know the right word for it. It's called gunga. So she had her head covered, and she was only her husband was talking because she was so shy, or at least she didn't want to talk to us. So it was hard to communicate with her as it is. So we had to talk to him and explain it to him, and then of course later on, I think they referred her to a gynecologist for a female gynecologist to explain stuff to her, kind of make sense or make sure that both people get the right information of what goes where and who should be wearing the condom where.
I can honestly say, Mahir, when I asked the original question, that response is so far away from where I thought it was going to go. I thought sure we were going to talk about light bulbs in places they don't belong or some nonsense like that.
Weird insertions or something.
That's surgery. That's surgery. So I'm not a surgeon, which is why I don't have those stories, but I'm sure there are stories like that. But that's mostly surgery. I was general medicine, so which is why we got this stuff.
Very good. Do not get me wrong. That story killed, right? That's great. I find it hard to believe in a country with so many people, though, that it happened at all. But I guess
you would be surprised at some of the stuff that happens in India, even to this day, Ro. And I'm not even kidding.
Surprise me, man. Come on. We've got time.
Why stop at light bulbs? I've heard of shampoo bottles. Oh, again. Ryan, keeping it classy.
Excuse me.
This is where fantasy is going, folks.
Maybe let's get back to fantasy, not about my medical stories. Maybe I'll
this is so much better.
No, it's not.
I think it's pretty great.
It's absolutely not. But
I have no cool. I have no cool stories from my education. I'm a landscape architect by trade. I designed parks. Woo.
So much nicer. So much nicer. Yes, because one of the other stuff which I remember off the top of my head is like, they once brought in patients. So again, let me clarify this. We have endemic malaria zones in India, and the part where we were practicing in the hospital, that was a malaria endemic zone, which meaning that there's a more than higher probability that you'll get malaria during the rainy season. And so unfortunately, we had patients who used to come into our hospitals for various other reasons, and they would get bitten by mosquitoes, and then they would get malaria as well. That was one of those, just horrible things happening. Like I said, like you don't expect to get malaria in the hospital, but you kind of get that as well. So there's that. That's just one of the weird things. Then I could send you a video of when I recently went to India, I just took a video of the normal traffic on the street, and I'm going to show it to you guys later, just for fun purposes of the chaos that is Indian streets.
Oh, I've seen videos of traffic over. No, thank you.
Okay.
That's just madness.
I know, yeah. And this was just like a normal afternoon. I just took it for my, my work colleagues, because I always tell them, and they don't. I think you have to see it to experience the chaos with the sounds. So I took a video of like a 15-20 second video just to show them of like what a normal weekday afternoon looks like in Bombay.
Hmm.
So
Do you want to show us now, Mahir? Can you?
I don't know if it will translate. I'm gonna try, but I don't know if it will. I'll be able to show it to you on.
Are you on your computer? Do you have it on your computer? We can share your screen.
It's on my phone. That's the weird part.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
That's why. But I could really just put my phone like this, and you would be able to see it. But I don't know if it worked. It would work. Do you guys want me to try it?
Why not?
Yeah, go ahead.
Look what we've talked about already. I mean,
Hey,
Well-
Dewey,
Oh dear Lord, I'm so sorry about
Dewey,
this.
you missed it all, man. You got here too late. You need to rewind this about 15 minutes.
So sorry to everyone.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
No, absolutely not. No,
Oh, yeah.
I would.
That's crazy.
No.
Yeah. And there's a couple more videos like this. I just took them just because I was like, people have to see this. Oh, this one is the main one.
Oh.
So people don't get off to the side because it's an emergency vehicle.
Nope.
So what are the people all thinking that the horn blowing is accomplishing in a mass
Absolutely
like
nothing.
that?
And there's signs all over that please, noise pollution, let's decrease noise pollution, no horns, nothing. My son actually pointed that out. Like they're blowing their horns and there's literally signs everywhere saying no horns or no sound, please. Does not matter. I think it's more to just kind of make people spatially aware that I'm passing through or I'm right near you or I'm like right behind you. There is no car insurance, Timothy. There is no car insurance.
So everybody drives like it's a rental. Nice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
nice.
Again, I apologize to derail this. I am sure you have lovely questions. So I'm going to shut up and let Beth do her intelligent talking because this is way off the rails. India is a nice country. Let me also say this. India is a nice country. I am from India. It's a nice place. Irrespective of all the censored movies and half of the movies not releasing. It's a nice place. Irrespective of the traffic as well. It's just very chaotic. Very, very, very chaotic.
This all could have been avoided here had you just seen Star Wars, damn it.
I know. I could have lied. I could have just said I've seen Star Wars. I don't care much for it. I should have lied.
Could
I'll
have
remember that for
avoided
next time.
whole conversation.
I know.
Actually, wasn't it zombie porn that started this conversation? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's what got us on into the.
We ended in Indian traffic.
That just sounds like a house episode, you know? A guy coming in and saying, I'm wearing it, you know, like they told me.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Ugh.
Sometimes people take things literally in India, and I'm not even kidding. They do take.
Well, they do
take
here
things
too.
literally.
So I think that in the next few years, with space people thinking about Mars and everything, you will see a lot more kind of rigorously researched science fiction going forward. He says,
Sure.
as a very odd segue back to the topic.
Yes, I believe
Yes,
that's
most
true.
definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
So I posted on the Spacebo site. We're going to have coming up in about 3 weeks. Ryan Patrick. I always call him Patrick Ryan, but it's Ryan Patrick, and Teresa Beeley, who the one is an aeronautical engineer and the other is a ground test engineer.
Ooh.
And they're going to come on and answer your science questions so you can get the science right in science fiction.
Yeah.
And I put on there, it's like, and Ryan has read my book, so I'm going to ask him live what I got wrong in my sci-fi book. And he's like, there's one chapter that I really poked at a lot, but I'll have to look it up before the show. So I have that coming.
It's funny you should mention that. Do you guys know who John Morrow is?
Yeah.
John?
Yes.
Okay. John is the glass king of the world. Like the glass on your phone, he helped design it. You know, and he is I don't know, I think he's a director now for ceramic sciences or whatever at Penn State.
Yep.
And he's also on the Grimdark team, and he is sort of like my assistant editor. he's doing a series right now where he takes his scientific background. The first one he took his scientific background and talked to a bunch of science fiction authors about how they would make the glass on their ships work. And then I believe the last issue was somebody who works with metals and talked about, how they would make the metals work. Don't remember what the next issue is, but it's an ongoing series for the issues.
That's cool.
Yeah. He's a great writer. He's an amazing writer.
Shout out to John. His reviews are really amazing. Like, just if you love to read his reviews. They're really fun to read.
Yeah, I think, I wrote a good review, and then I read his review, and I'm like, I suck.
Well, he knows. I don't want to be reading someone's freaking engineering paper, right?
Yeah. Some people do,
If you can point a phaser at a dilithium crystal and it somehow gives you energy, great. Let's move on, right? There are green women on various planets who need to be shown how to use a condom incorrectly, and
men, not women, men. The guy was the one with the problem, bro.
That was a Star Trek reference, Mahir. I don't know if you've ever seen Star Trek.
I have seen some part of Star Trek. I don't know if it was the movie or the TV show, but I've seen something of it. I know who Captain Picard is.
Okay, all right.
See, I'm not that much of a, what's the word, Philistine.
Yeah, but you're really walking that line.
At least I know there's a difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. I can know what's from Star Wars. And I don't mix those up because I know what's what, even though I haven't seen Star Wars. Because I think the lightsabers, they are in Star Wars. There's no lightsabers in Star Trek. They only wear suits, and the red shirts reference comes from Star Trek, right?
Yeah,
the red shirts die. See,
if you're wearing a red shirt, you're
gonna die.
Unless you're facing a stormtrooper, then what happens?
That's Star Wars.
That's Star Wars.
So if you're going to mix genres and you have a stormtrooper trying to kill a red shirt, what happens? One always dies and one always misses.
Oh, so the stormtroopers miss.
Or hits their head. Or hits their head as they go through a door.
Right. It's a science fiction paradox. What are you going to do?
Also, it's like a Schrodinger's victim paradox.
Yeah,
like who died?
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
You put a stormtrooper and a red shirt in a box. Is one of them dead?
Schrodinger's stormtrooper.
I want to point out, for like 180 live interviews or whatever we're at, we have never had a Schrodinger reference until now.
Really? Nice.
Especially paired with the stormtrooper. And the big question here is, have you seen Firefly?
And why would you?
What? Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay. So I did not know about Firefly until I came to the US. And then I wasn't really a big fan of Joss Whedon because I'd seen certain episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I thought it was okay. I just never got into like seeing a show that is canceled. It really never struck me as like, why would I need to see something that's already canceled? And I hate incomplete ending stuff, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. Like stuff like, I'm saying this. Okay, let me just clarify again because I don't want to be like, this guy said Grimdark is dying and now he says he doesn't want to read. What I mean by that is fantasy books are fine. People who I'm willing to wait for fantasy books because I personally have been waiting 18 plus years now for a series. I don't know when it's going to be complete. The Godslayer Chronicles by James Clements. I love that series. I've been waiting 18 plus years for the third book. So I am fine with waiting. It's just like for a show which is finished, like not even finished, it's just, if it was canceled, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense to me because I'm going to be invested in it and then nothing happens, or like I don't know what happens. And I'm not smart enough to be a writer to imagine what could happen or give like an ending in my mind. I'm not that smart. So why would I go through that pain is my justification for not seeing Firefly. I'm going to be a least popular guest in your show, so I'm going to just say I have seen it. Yeah, it was okay. It was okay.
Solidified your spot in the top 10.
Oh my Lord, no!
With that little tale of you know what it was.
You really dislike the movie? What?
Oh, there's a movie?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that.
What are your thoughts on Battlestar Galactica?
The original or
No,
the latest?
the new one. The new one.
The first two seasons were good.
Yeah, I agree. They really shit the bed on the fourth season though. It's pretty bad.
George R. R. Martin wrote something about the finale of Battlestar Galactica, saying that how bad it was, if I'm not wrong, in one of his blog posts.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just don't get the love for Firefly. I mean, I've watched a couple episodes and was like, eh. You know, I just, and people just like Beth here. It's obviously
I have a sticker on my car that says I aim to misbehave. Like I love Firefly.
I don't know what that means.
It's from the show.
Okay.
It's a quote from the show.
I mean, it's not that I don't like campy things, right? I mean, what the hell was that one? Now Mike likes Babylon 5, right? Which I never got into.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I never got into that.
We're going to break up Bald&Balding if you go bad on that.
No, I'm not. I've said I've never seen it, but I liked the. What the hell was it called? Oh my god!
What was it about? Lost?
No, it was the living ship that these guys were on. This John Crichton.
Farscape.
Farscape was fantastic.
Also, not seen that.
Fantastic. Wild. I mean, I'd sit there and I'd watch the show, and this is before you could rewatch it. You had to wait till the season was over and they did reruns. And I'd be like, oh, looks like there's a new person on the show. Oh, nope, they died. Okay. I mean, you just never knew people would come or go, and the people you think you're going to come all of a sudden like, nope, and they died in a fiery death. Okay. So
what show is this?
It's Firefly. The crew.
Oh, okay.
It's like, it's like, oh, okay, so they're introducing a new member of the crew. Nope, she died. Okay. So you never know.
I have a funny story about Babylon 5.
Ooh.
I don't know anything about Babylon 5, but I actually had an interview with J. Michael Straczynski. Is that right?
Yeah. He's the guy who wrote Superman as well.
Yeah, he's written so much. Sense8. He wrote Sense8. I didn't know any of that, and I was interviewing him about him being the executor of Harlan Ellison's estate and putting out the Last Dangerous Visions.
It finally came out.
Yeah, I've interviewed him, talking to him about that and stuff. No idea any of the other stuff until the interview came out, because I focused solely on the Harlan Ellison stuff. I'm like, oh, so. Yeah, he wrote Babylon 5 and Sense8. He's a popular dude. I had no idea.
Yep.
That's how much I know.
Harlan Ellison was a creative consultant for Babylon 5, so.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that would make sense. I didn't know that either.
It kind of came out in the early 90s, so if you watch it now, you're like, wow, these graphics are terrible. But
I think sci-fi, though, I think people just kind of want something that's a little hopeful, right? I mean, not necessarily smarmy kind of whatever, but that's why Star Trek worked so well, I think. It wasn't always happy and fun, but it was hopeful, right? A future that you can envision that maybe things won't suck quite as much as they do now.
Yeah, it's sort of a working utopia. It's the way I always thought about it. They kind of got stuff figured out, generally speaking. There's conflict and stuff, but they got stuff figured out.
Plus, you could beam yourself to different worlds, right? That was the whole cool thing in Star Trek.
Yeah,
Star Trek. Yeah,
you're killing it now, man.
Hey, I'm thinking about jet lag. When you're traveling, and if you could just beam yourself, there's no jet lag. So that's like a positive thing.
That would be great.
Yeah,
but you go first. One thing I meant to ask you guys before we get sidetracked by Indian hospitals. Do you ever get any books where you've read it and you think to yourself, and then check and go, this is written by AI?
I've gotten stories like that.
You have?
I haven't gotten books yet. No.
How easy is it, or how difficult?
It's getting more difficult by the day.
Yeah.
I am worried for the next.
It's difficult because, how you're reading a story and you're like, I'm not sure if this is written by AI or not. I don't know. Maybe the author just has that kind of particular voice. And there's no. In the beginning, it was pretty obvious what was written by AI, but less and less every day, and it's awful.
I'm kind of worried that in 3 years we won't be able to tell a difference. Like, somebody might just come out with the AI book and they might just not tweak it once they have the draft, they might just go over and make a few changes here and there, and then they just publish it. How do we know? Because unless they come up with a detector of saying that this is AI written or this is at least partially AI written, there's no way for people, or at least regular readers, to know at all. Unless we go on the word of the author and they say like, yeah, no, I wrote this myself for you. I mean, that's what caused the whole SPFPO cover contest last year.
Yeah,
like the author did not know that their artist had used AI, and it was thanks to the efforts of several people. Some artists, some bloggers, that they were like, no, this is AI and then they kind of went more and more, and then the guy who did the cover kept denying it at first, and many authors were like, no, this if the artist says it's not. And then finally it did come out that it was AI drawn or utilizing AI. So Mark Lawrence had to nuke the cover contest because there's literally no way to tell which covers are. I mean, yes, there is some way, but with the speed at which AI covers are getting better, like even if they use partially AI, there's no way to know. So I'm feeling like in the next 3 years, authors will have to face that, because there's always those idiots who want to make a quick buck, thinking that, oh yeah, I can use use AI to just write out a fancy story and then put it out there. But that's not really helpful to us as readers, and that's definitely not helpful to you as authors as well.
So I wonder, because how is an AI going to show emotion? I mean, you can get the facts right, and they did this, they did that, they slew a dragon, but how are they going to say this is how I felt? And I don't know how they can do that. I mean, they can do not much machine learning as they want, but I mean, I think there'll be some things that it'll always be weak at, unless you're like, pull this quote from this book, and but I mean, I don't know. I think well, one, it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And I think there will always be, you'll be able to tell, and maybe you just have to get a little more clever at when you read about, the giveaways. But I mean, I don't know. And honestly, if someone wants to read AI rather than my book, go for it. Then, I'm going to give you a story that only I can tell.
I do wonder if cover-wise, though, if more people won't start using actual artists more and getting away from the prepackaged Photoshop kind of versions of stuff, just because of the specter of AI.
That's what GDM does. We have a whole system in place with our covers. We have somebody we've used for years, and I have multiple checks that I go through that he shows me, how it develops, and he draws.
Yeah,
it's very painterly.
I think there's also the question of from a financial perspective. Now, again, I'm not saying that I support AI covers, or I'm not saying that they are right or wrong. I'm just giving a perspective of maybe why people some use it. Like, it's cheaper. Again, it's robbing from artists, but it's cheaper for them. So which is why because rather than go with like a really bad cover, they're thinking, right, if I can get an AI cover, my book will at least have some eyeballs. I think that's one viewpoint. The other thing is like in the case of the SPFP author, they don't know any better. The artist might be lying to their teeth and saying like, hey, this is a cover I made. And I'm saying this from a non-art person viewpoint. Like, if you don't know to look for what's an AI, or how an AI cover looks like, or what are the minuscule or the small minutiae of it, like to detect what's an AI, how an AI cover will look, you don't know any better. And the rate at which it's progressing, it's becoming harder and harder as well. So that's my worry. But
it's even worse than that. Like, if you have an artist, they get assets in different places, little bits of pictures or brushes or whatever. Those can be AI generated and not have any idea. So the artists themselves might, draw, manipulate, do what artists do, but the assets are AI. It's a pretty deep rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who says that they're not going to use any AI at all, well, they're fooling themselves, because if you're using your spell checker on Word, that's a form of AI. So
it's one of those technological things that is changing, and perhaps going to change every facet of life going forward, from military applications to everyday usage to menial tasks. Here's what I'm hoping it will do. It'll make life easier for us, like, for the everyday humans, of just not having to think of the smaller things, like something that would be a useful AI, which can tell us like, hey, your insurance is expiring. Go look for, and here's are some options for you that I looked on the web and found out for you? Like something that would be helpful rather than dropping artists and coming up with AI slop novels nobody wants to read, at least nobody normal wants to read. Why couldn't those tech bros come out with AIs which are going to be more helpful like that?
They are.
I love the optimism there.
Oh, I'm an optimist.
But having lived through the last 50-something years and the rise of computers and digital photography and all that, it's like, oh, making our lives easier. When I started as a writer for weekly newspapers, my job was to write, and maybe take a pica pole. Anybody doesn't know what a pica pole is, and a whiz wheel and a piece of paper and kind of draw a design for a layout and then give it to somebody else who did all the other stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But now you're taking the pictures, you're laying them out, you're processing, making the pictures better, you're doing video and editing that, and you're still trying to write stuff and edit. So the stuff that used to be done by a half a dozen people is now being done by one person. So I don't know that computers have necessarily made our lives easier. The games are certainly better, right? I mean,
they have. Just think about this. All of us in 4 different locations able to talk live at this moment.
Well, yeah.
Just give me a small example. Technology is. I totally get what you're saying, Ru. I'm not saying that's like a bad thing, but technology does have nicer side effects in a way.
Oh yeah.
That's
I can drive a car without worrying about,
There's always going to be weird and bad things to do of technology because of people with dubious moral values.
Yeah.
But there's some good stuff.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing to highlight. Indie authors, well, actually, authors in general used to just write. It used to be you get a story, you write, and then you pass it off to your editor, and then you had somebody who was in charge of marketing. And now you're a business. You're in charge of marketing. You're in charge of writing. If you're an indie author, cover, like being creative, cover, working with a designer, making a brand out of yourself. And if you're not really extroverted to grab social media and know what to do with it, that's a huge problem. And it's there used to be a lot more people involved in bringing a story out than they are now. Even with trad publishers or trad published authors, they have to do the same thing now.
Yep.
Because I've heard this in the grapevine. I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard that nowadays the publishers are pushing the traditional authors as well. Like, you have to do your own publicity. Like, we will boost you, but you are the one who has to go on Reddit. You are the one who has to go to YouTubers or book talkers, or you are the one who has to constantly tweet random interesting stuff. Make yourself a personality, and so, which is really hard, right? Because most normal people don't want to do that. And writers want to write, and they just want to put out their book. And yes, there are some really brilliant authors who can, are really funny or were funny on Twitter before it went down the drain, and now thankfully are similarly on Blue Sky or other places. Or some people really creative with Instagram, and they can make really cool looking stuff over there too. But it's still hard.
I actually read an article about an author was saying that she had an agent and they were pitching the book, and the publishing was like, "You don't have a social media following. We're not interested." And they said that she didn't do that until, this is probably 5 years ago. She goes, "When I got to 2,000 people following me on Twitter, that's when they stopped bringing that up as a strike against me."
Holy cow.
So, which is why I got to 2,000 Twitter followers. I'm like, I'm done. I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah, but have you checked them out? How many of them are dubious sex bots?
No, I actually screen. I actually look at people. Okay. I don't just, but I don't have no desire to be traditionally published anyway, so it doesn't matter. But
that's such a weird hurdle, right?
Right.
Such a just stupid, and then it has nothing to do with the quality of your writing. There's nothing to do with the quality of your book. Like, 2,000 people need to follow you on Twitter so that we can consider anything about your book. You can write a crappy book and have 50,000 followers versus somebody who has maybe 2 followers but has written a really great book.
And there are crappy books that have been written by people who have 50,000 followers. Really bad.
Yeah. Well, like you said, right? All you got to do is find those people who like your book, and it doesn't matter how bad it is. There's going to be somebody who likes it.
Mm-hmm. It's somebody's favorite book.
If
Yeah.
you're lucky, it's going to be a couple of thousand people who like it. But Mike screens for sex bots only. Nice.
Tim with the zingers.
Oh,
Tim
that
with
would
the
be
zingers.
hilarious.
That would explain why we our numbers aren't going up and Mike's not getting a tattoo in his head. So
Ugh.
Is that a
Tim?
bet?
So last year, I'll pull it up because give me any chance and I will. We said if we get to 500 people by the end of the year, I would get this tattoo on my head.
and we said this in like July or August.
We did not get to 500
Oh,
subscribers.
no, Mike, no.
But
Maybe on your back, but not on your head.
That's even
with
worse.
there, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe at Worldcon, Adrian Gibson is going to be there. He said he'll probably have his tattoo stuff, so you never know.
Oh yeah, he did some tattooing even in Glasgow as
Did
well.
some tattooing in Glasgow.
So you never know. That could happen in August in Seattle.
Well, then you need to get us 115 more there, Michael.
So, but oh well.
Mike, you got to start flashing to the sex bots. Drive them over here from Twitter.
No, I wouldn't use sex. People how to put condoms on.
I'm just saying maybe the content of this episode will be what we needed to push us over the top.
You just never
Best
know.
episode ever.
And
I
for
have been
those
thoroughly entertained. I don't know about y'all, but
and for those who missed it, please go back. This happened back in 2007. So just for historical context, when I was
You don't
back
think that
in
would
India.
happen now? Historical you don't think that would happen now?
Probably not, because there's a lot of like the internet has grown a lot, and people have like this was back when there was dial-up back in India. Like I had dial-up. I remember the dial tone and everything. Not a lot of people even had phones, and phones are few and far, but no internet as such on the phones. But now India has gotten amazing with the with internet on the phones and everything. So, and a good thing about India, unless somebody, because there's always people who will think that, oh, he's an India hater. I'm not an India hater. No, India has great coverage. So I don't foresee this problem happening now at all.
You're saying there's probably a 17-year-old in India because of what you and your colleagues did.
Yes, because they want his or her parents wanted it. His or her parents wanted it. It's not an accidental thing. Like they wanted to have a child, which is why
really
they came to
changed
us.
somebody's life right there.
I didn't. My colleague did because he had to go exclusive.
You were the one holding the straws, right? Going, no.
Well, we kind of just did. So here's a weird thing. Okay, it's really hard to talk about sex in the Hindi language, because there's the words which are used to describe. They're almost swear words or similar to swear words. Like it's very hard to talk about it in like if you talk in English. So to explain it to somebody, it's just harder. And to somebody whom you're seeing for the first time and who's coming here with a different problem, it is hard. So I'm just glad I didn't have to do it.
yeah, I don't think the difficulty would have been the language. It would have been, not laughing at,
You don't
while
do
you're
that.
doing it.
You don't do that. It's
Straight face.
All right, I think that's a good place to end it.
yeah for the
Really?
fun.
Okay, we'll try to end on a better note. Mahir, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? I recently finished the third book in Rachel Aaron's Tear Down Heaven series, which was really
Rachel
fun.
Aaron.
Yes, it's called Hell to Pay, and I just started Gaurav Mohanty's Dance of Shadows, which is the second book in his Rag of Rita series, which is epic fantasy, but from an Indian perspective. And I'm reading a couple of other books, which for the life of me, I cannot remember right now. Oh, Steve McHugh's Vampire alternate fantasy, and the title is something to do with darkness, and I'm a horrible person, which I can't remember, but I'll look it up.
Oh, okay. Beth, how about you? What are you currently reading?
Give me 5 seconds. I got to get my. You got to get it up.
No,
And while Beth waits, I can say Those Who Dwell in Darkness, a vampire thriller, was the name of that excellent, excellent book.
Nice. See, now I feel better because I'm reading. Oh my God, who is that? We've interviewed them. What is his name? And I can't remember. And so now I feel better that I'm not the only one.
You're not, Mike. It happens way more than I like it to be.
See, I tell
Okay.
people I'm in my 50s. That's why I can't remember. I don't know what you guys are going to come up with.
Oh, I just say I'm an idiot. That just helps set the discourse. Because I just tell them firstly, I'm an idiot. So don't always listen to me. Don't always believe. Don't always think that I'm the smart person. I'm not.
You are not
It's
an
the glasses.
idiot.
I am.
You just have moments. It's fine. You just have moments.
They happen all too often.
He's an idiot.
You'll have more of them as you get older.
But you won't remember. So.
That's the plus.
Symbiote. I've got Symbiote that's been by Michael Nayak, which hasn't come out yet, that I'm reading. I read like 5 or 6 books at a time. I have a book in every place I sit. I have the new Dungeon Crawler Carl book that I just got the audio for. So
Nice.
I'm going to listen to that. Yeah. And then there's a book, The Way Out is Up, the Tower one.
Okay.
Is it the Yaroslav one?
No.
No.
Although I do need to read that. I haven't. It's a tower. People have to like travel up a tower to get out of the world, and sort of like the Hunger Games inside the tower. It's coming out soon. Yeah.
I think I saw something like this on NetGalley Bet.
Yeah, you probably did. That's where I got it.
Because I feel like what you're describing is, I remember reading the blurb for some of that.
Yeah, I have so many books. I have so many things to review and read.
Can I just talk until Beth started to recollect of the forthcoming books, if that's easier?
Sure.
Okay. Gatebound by Daniel T. Jackson, the 3rd book in his Illbond series. I got an ARC of that. I've just started. That's really amazing. But, based on what has come before, that looks to be pretty cool and, something that I'm very much looking forward to. Michael Fletcher was really kind enough. He co-wrote a horror novel with his buddy Clayton Snyder, and that's also going to be coming out later this year. And I've read half of that.
Oh, I want that.
Yes, you do. Because it's really creepy, insane horror. It has kind of facets of his fantasy world leaking into our world, and the craziness gets amped up. And if anybody knows what Michael Fletcher writes, his books are really amazing. And this one is just on another level because it's more horror. And so Beth, it's really up your alley.
Yeah, that sounds right up my alley. Oh, I don't know.
And there's also other books that I'm waiting for, but I haven't gotten the ARC, so I'm not so lucky enough.
I have two. That's my to read.
Good job.
And then this is my. Oh God, this is my. You can see it. These are my fancy books.
Ooh.
Yeah, these are my fancy books, and then I have 4 more bookcases downstairs of my other library.
Nice.
Yeah.
She has a really cool Stephen King collection as well. Bet you should tell everybody about that. The colorful Stephen King collection.
Okay, I have the King Bow, which is a series of it's all the Stephen King books in 2000 up to 2007, and they were released as paperbacks, color coded, for 2 years. And if you like Stephen King books a lot, trying to go out and find these books. They were released only in the UK for 2 years, long time ago. Yeah.
Good job.
And so I've almost got the full set, almost.
That is such a cool thing. Even if you're not a Stephen King fan, that is such a cool thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was my COVID project. I love searching for stuff. So I'd go and I'd search, and the ones that I don't have are like $600 a piece. The rarer ones, and I just can't bring myself to spend $600 on a paperback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn,
The other ones, $30 a piece. I could do that.
Because you would never read that $600 book, would you?
No, it sits pretty on my shelf. And I have pretty much bought a car for Broken Binding. Like. So I have so many Broken Binding books.
They put out some really beautiful books.
Yeah.
They really do. They really, really do. I wish I had something to show off over here, but Well, actually, I don't. No, sorry, I don't.
So, quick questions here for you. Have either of you read this book?
I saw it in SPFPO this year. I have bought an e-copy of it. I haven't read it, but I've bought an e-copy of it.
It's one of my 3 best reads of last year. Laura Huey is an even better person than she is an author. Highly recommend it. It's kind of cozy. It's kind of like the Hobbit goes in to see Smaug, and Smaug says, "Let me tell you my story, then I'll leave and leave all the treasure with you."
Oh.
So whole different take. Great. This, has a new cover now, Platinum Tinted Darkness.
Okay.
That's a great cover.
Oh, Timothy Wolf, the cozy zombie horror guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You should try it. No.
Sorry, I meant with. Never mind.
Timothy, that is henceforth.
And then finally, another one of my top 3 reads is this is E.L. Montague's Heirs of a Flawed Creation.
Okay.
This is all short stories about androids in near future after the second human-android solar system-wide war. And I did not know that I needed this in my life, but because I'm not, androids, so what? But phenomenal. I told him, I'm like, when is the rest coming out? This is not the end of the story. I need to know.
Okay.
So, highly recommend all of those. You should check them out.
I will be reading The Sunset Sovereign in February then, Mike. Thank you for recommending it, because I bought it. I remember somebody had reviewed it, and I thought, oh, this is interesting, because I know the dragon is narrating the story. So I had bought it, but I'm going to just, as soon as I finish it, I'm going to start it. Oh, it's slim. That's a plus.
That's always good.
Yeah.
So,
were last year.
but anyway, and then of course my books and Rose books. You should read all those. I mean, if you haven't already.
You'd be the first.
I like the Rose. I like Rose books in the background. Something with the deck, Ranger deck.
Ranger deck.
Ranger
Yes.
deck.
That's the first 3 of 5.
It's pretty cool.
So
I'm gonna check those out, Ro. Thank you.
anyway, you have wasted 82 minutes of your life with us.
And we appreciate it.
Enjoyed 82 minutes. We have enjoyed. At least I want to say that.
So
And we appreciate
Way off track.
all the folks either here on YouTube or on TikTok who have taken time out of their lives to spend with us, and Mahir and Beth. Appreciate that. And we're back again tomorrow, right, Mike?
we are with the Book Hermit.
Doing it
Kristen
again.
So we can hopefully talk about other weird things.
We're with Kristen Schaefer.
Yes, the Book Hermit.
Okay.
Tomorrow at 7. So
7 p.m.
4 p.m. for our guests here in tonight's show. But yes.
Tim,
Yeah.
it's
Pretty great.
definitely in the top 5. Absolutely.
Thanks to Tim, though. Tim and Timothy. They were really giving out zingers.
The Timocracy.
Hey, the bad boy of Twitter getting banned, twice now. Who knew the Canadians had it in them?
I'd wear that like a badge of honor.
Such a cesspool. Such a cesspool now.
Okay, well, I think it is time to wave awkwardly before we talk about God knows what else.